Hello, welcome to week 2 of Algebra 1B. Okay, so we are factoring polynomials. Today is Monday, March 23rd, 2020. So we left off Friday talking about, well, what's the purpose of the zero product principle? Well, unfortunately, they're not going to be as easy as the ones that I've given you where it's already labeled as a multiplication problem and you need to just split it up into two equations. Eventually, what we're going to be doing is you're going to be given an expanded version of the polynomial and you have to make it a multiplication problem. I apologize for the shaking camera. I'm literally holding an iPad over my notebook. Anyway, so the goal of factoring a polynomial, remember that to factor something, is the verb to make it into a multiplication problem. So the goal is you're going to be finding the GCF. Take the greatest common factor from all the terms, and you're going to basically want the reverse of the distributive property. So that means that you can check your work with the distributive property. Let's take a look at problem number 1. 3x plus 15. Well, what is the greatest common factor of 3x and 15? First things first, I'm going to look over here with my pencil. I look at 3 and I look at 15. What is the biggest number I can divide out of 3 and 15? Well, over here, 3 can just be broken up into 1 times 3. 15 can just be broken up into 1 times 15 or 3 times 5. So they have a 1 in common, and they also have a 3 in common. They don't have a 5 in common to divide or a 15 to divide. So the biggest number I can take out of both of them is 3. So what I'm going to do is factor out the 3. So this 3 becomes factored out. Okay, so basically what you want to do is figure out 3 times what is 3x? 3 times x is 3x. 3 times what is positive 15? Positive 5. So that is all we really want. And how do we check our work? Well, if your factored form can be redistributed as the original problem, you did it right. 3 times x is 3x. 3 times positive 5 is positive 15. You did it correctly. Okay, see if you can do number 2 on your own. Factor 8y minus 48. You can pause the video to do this independently. Okay, I'm going to give you about 3 more seconds, and then I'm going to show you how it's done. You can always pause it. Okay, so what do? I make a little table for 8. Well, 8 is equal to 1 times 8, or 2 times 4, and I've run out of factors. Okay. 48 can be broken down into 1 times 48. Okay. Got a 1 in common. 2 times 24. Okay. Got a 2 in common. 3 times 16. I don't see a 3 in common. 4 times 12. I see a 4 in common. 6 times 8. Ooh, I see an 8 in common. Don't see a 12 in common. I don't see a 16 in common. I don't see a 24 or a 48 in common. So the GCF of 8 and 48 is 8. So I'm going to take out an 8. So let's take out an 8 from 8y and negative 48. So if I factor out the 8, 8 times what is 8y? 8 times y is 8y. 8 times what is negative 48? So you get your calculator, you do negative 48 divided by 8, you will get negative 6. Let me make that y a little bit cleaner. Okay, so that is the factored form for 8y minus 48. How do you check your work? Well, if your factored form is correct, you should be able to redistribute it and get 8y minus 48. 8 times y is 8y. 8 times negative 6 is negative 48. It checks out. Cool. Now, let's do factor 10d plus 35. Well, I'm going to make my little table on the side. Oop, I didn't do that yet. So I want to figure out the GCF of 10d and 35. So let's focus on the numbers first. 10 can be broken down into 1 times 10 or 2 times 5. Okay? And I'm going to break down 35. 35 can be broken down into 1 times 35. 35 divided by 2 is a decimal. 35 divided by 3 is a decimal. 35 divided by 4 is also a decimal. 35 divided by 5 is a whole number. 5 times 7. And I think that's it, because 35 divided by 6 doesn't work either. It's also a decimal. So let's circle what they have in common. Well, they both have a 1 in common. That goes without saying. Do they have a 2 in common? I don't think so. They've got a 5 in common. They don't have a 7, a 10, or a 35 in common. So the greatest common factor of 10 and 35 is in fact 5. So let's factor out 5, the greatest common factor. So if I've got 5 factored out, 5 times what is 10d? Well, 5 times 2 is 10, and so 5 times 2d will be 10d. Okay, 5 times what is 35? Positive 7. So the completely factored out form is 5 times the quantity of 2d plus 7. You can check your work by doing the distributive property. So if I distribute the 5 times 2d is 10d. 5 times positive 7 is positive 14. Okay, let's take a look at 24. So I'm not going to do the tree for all of them. I want you guys to be able to do the tree if you're struggling at finding the GCF immediately. See if you can do number 4 and number 5 independently. Okay, give about 3 more seconds and then I'm going to go on to the problem. Okay. I'm going to look at this. 24p minus 36. Well, I'm trying to figure out what's the biggest number I can divide out of 24 and 36. So I'm just going to get right to it. I can take out a 1, I can take out a 2, I can take out a 3, I can take out a 4, I can't take out a 5 from both of them, I can take out a 6, I can take out not a 7, 8, or 9, 10, 11. So the biggest number I can take out is 12. Because 12 can go into 24 and 36 a whole number of times. So now 12 can go into 24p. 12 times what is 24p? 2p. 12 times what is negative 36? Negative 3. That is the biggest number I can take out, and it's going to be a huge advantage for the rest of the school year. You want to go to Algebra 2? Factor, factor, factor. You want to get a college degree? Factor, factor, factor. This is your biggest tool in your arsenal. So let's check our work. 12 times 2p minus 3. If I distribute the 12, I get 24p, 12 times 2p, and 12 times negative 3 is negative 36. It checks out. I forgot to check right there too. All right, number 5. 21w plus 7. Well, the biggest number I can factor out of 21 and 7, because I watched a lot of football as a kid. Well, not really, but I just played a lot of Madden. So the biggest number I can take out of 7 and 21 is 7. And now, 7 times what is 21w? That's right, 3w. 7 times what is positive 7? Positive 1. Okay, you can check your work. Distribute. You get 21w, 7 times 1, positive 7. Checks out. Okay. 18x minus 12. See if you can factor this one independently. Okay. Again, you can use the pause button to get more time. I'm just trying to get this video out there. All right, so I'm trying to figure out what's the biggest number I can divide from 18 and 12. Well, 1, 2, 3, 4, not 4, actually, not 4. 1, 2, 3, 5, no, 6, yes, 7, no, 8, no. So it's 6. So I'm going to take out 6. 6 times what is 18x? That'd be 3x. 6 times what is negative 12? Negative 2. Okay. You can FOIL that out. Sorry, you can distribute that. Sorry if my handwriting's a little bit crooked. I'm holding the iPad in my left hand. So I'm going to distribute out the 6, and I'm going to get 6 times 3x, which is 18x. And 6 times negative 2 is in fact negative 12. We got back to the original problem. Okay, I'm going to turn the page. I'm just going to give my left hand a little bit of a breather. Okay. All right, now these 4 problems I'm going to review tomorrow, these types of problems as well, but this is where the real deal algebra is. Okay, so we want to factor, so if you guys want to see the problems ahead of time, these are the 4 problems. Okay, so 5x squared plus 20x. This is where it gets a little bit tricky because there's an x squared here and an x here. So numbers and numbers, letters with letters. You notice that there's an x on the first term, there's an x in the second term. So what is the biggest number I can factor out of 5 and 20? That's right, 5. But you'll notice that they both have at least x to the first power. So not only is the GCF 5, but the GCF is 5x. Now, 5x times what is 5x squared? We'll notice that 5 times 1 is 5, so we need to multiply x times x to get x squared. Go back to that law of exponents unit that we had, and you'll notice that 5x times 1x, you can put that 1 if that makes you feel better, but you don't have to. 5x times 1x is 5x squared. 5x times what is 20x? Positive 4. So the final answer is 5x times the quantity of x plus 4. Check your work with the distributive property. Five x times x is 5x to the second power. And 5x times positive 4, that'd be positive. 5 times 4 is 20, and just tack on the x. It checks out. See if you can do number 8 independently. 9c squared minus 54c. Factor completely. Okay, so let's factor 9c squared minus 54c. Well, cut right to it. I can divide by 1, 3, and 9. I can divide by 1, 2, 3, not 4, not 5, 6, yes, not 7, not 8, 9, yes, I think 18. But the point is, the biggest number I can divide out of 9 and 54 is 9, but notice that it's 9c squared minus 54c. They both share c to the first power. So I'm going to factor out 9c. Now, 9c times what is 9c squared? That's right, c. 9c times what is negative 54c? So you're going to get your calculator, negative 54 divided by 9, negative 6. So you're going to check your work. 9c times the quantity of c minus 6. Distribute that out. 9c times c is 9c squared. 9c times negative 6 is negative 54c. Check. All right. 9 and 10 are a little bit tricky because, let's face it, I can't take out 20 from 20 and 15. I can't take out 48 from 48 and 64. So I need to use my GCF. What is the biggest factor I can take out of 20h squared and 15h? Well, the biggest number I can take out is 5, and they both have h. So now, 5h times what is 20h squared? That's right, 4h. 5h times what is positive 15h? Even that bird agrees with me. 5h times positive 3. So let's check our work. 5h times 4h plus 3. Sorry, the quantity of 4h plus 3. So now I'm going to redistribute it. 5h times 4h is 20h squared. 5h times positive 3 is positive 15h. Check. Okay, so finally for the last problem, what is the biggest factor I can take out of 48x squared and negative 64x? All right, let's see. That one I might need a calculator because I'm pretty sure it's 8, but maybe it could be 16. Yep, it's 16. I thought it was 8. See, even I'm like, are you sure? All right, textbook, I know that's why you picked that one to be the hard one. So the biggest factor I can actually take out of 48 and 64 is 16. But remember, they both have, this one has x squared and this one has x, so they can factor out an x as well. 16x times what is 48x squared? You would get your calculator. You get 3x. 16x times what is negative 64x? Negative 4. See, if you had taken out 8x, right, I just want to show you right here, right down below. So if you had taken out 8x, you would have gotten 8x times 6x is 48x squared. 8x times negative 8 would be negative 64x. The problem with picking 8x is you still have to factor out these two. So this becomes still 8x. I'm going to leave that alone. But remember, what's the biggest factor I can take out of 6x and negative 8? A 2. So therefore, 2 times 3x would be 6x. 2 times negative 8 would be negative 4. So therefore, you would still get the same result, because then I would do 2 times 8x and get 16x. So if that makes you feel better to factor out a small number and then go, can I take something else out of there? Be my guest. So just to check our work, if I distribute that out, I'm going to get 48x squared. 16x minus times negative 4 would be negative 64x. We're going to do more examples with this tomorrow, hopefully with higher degrees. Hopefully you guys have a great Monday and stay healthy.